Aspiring solopreneur, if you've ever thought about starting your own business, well, it's never been easier, and that's what we're going to talk about. As entrepreneurs and business owners, we know that if we have a clear plan, anything becomes possible. And if you can have a clear plan, a clear process to create that plan, and a way to create clarity with your partner or spouse, you can drive to amazing heights. So when it comes to creating your own business, if you're aspiring to become a solopreneur, well, you came to the right place. I actually wrote the book on it. The intention with this video and the book is to help people very safely transition from where they are to where they want to be. I've started my first of 15 companies when I was 19. I've worked with hundreds around the world. Through this process, I've learned how to very safely and easily test, vet, create, and define what success looks like, and very, very safely transition into that business. So there's 5 primary areas we're going to hit today. 1, how do we define success? 2, how do you ID and clarify your specific your idea? 3, how do you build that team of advisors to make sure that you're going to be great when you launch it? 4, how do we create a bulletproof roadmap? And then lastly, 5, how do we know when we're going to pull the chute and really be successful so that we know when we launch, we're good to go? So of those 15 companies that I started, I only got clobbered by a couple of them. And it was because of outside influences that I didn't see coming. I believe that it has never, ever been easier to start a business. We can test, research, all sorts of stuff through the internet, through outreach, through reaching out and talking with other people. There have never been so many tools to make it safe to go out and research and define what it is and where we want to go. One of the biggest challenges most people have, though, is clearly defining what is the end in mind. Where do they want to go? What will amazing look like for their life? And build their life on a holistic level. And once they've done that, then come back in and build the business. So often people get a job, they build a business, they do whatever it is, and then they try and make their life squeeze in around that. I gotta tell you, I think that's bass backwards. I think we need to do it completely different and start with where is it that we want to be and where do we want to go. So if you go to our site, aspiringsolopreneur.com, you can take it takes about 10 minutes for an assessment. And this assessment, like I said, super easy, it gives you immediate results, trade an email for it, doesn't cost you anything, it'll break it down into 12 segments, 4 primary quadrants of what your life looks like so you can define what does success look like for you. Meaning, what does it look like in your relationships, your partner, your family, your friends? What does it look like for you in your health, your physical, your mental, your spiritual? How about in your resources, your time, your talent, your treasure? And then we talk about the business components. So people are like, well, dude, I don't care about that. I want to know about this for my business. Well, I challenge you to think about this, because if you can define those things first, then it's going to help you define what is the ideal business that you want to go into and what does that look like. So if you happen to be a stay-at-home parent and you're saying like, well, dude, yeah, I really only want to work 20 hours a week and I want to do that when my kids are at school. Okay, fair enough. How can we make sure that we look at that in the right way? Maybe you're like me and you love to do adventure travel. My wife and I take 2 months off a year. So I do strategic advising and work with people all over the world, but it's mostly virtual and it allows me to do that. Maybe you're saying, you know what, actually I get paid well where I am, but man, if I was an independent contractor, I could contract out at triple the rate. And that's true, I've seen it a lot. And I could work, maybe I could work 2 different gigs and I want to work 80 hours a week and I just want to bank money like crazy. Okay, again, fair enough. But help for you to define where it is you want to go first. The last thing I want somebody doing is saying, well, okay, I don't like my job, so I'm going to leave, and then you go and end up betting the farm on what you want to do, and you're in a crappier position and you're not happy. The little secret is, when you're really happy and you're loving what you're doing, you are going to do it so much better. So the first step in creating your aspiring solopreneur life is to be very crystal clear on where you want to go and what that looks like. What does the business look like across the board? How much money? Everything. Now, you may not necessarily be able to get to that money today, but if you start saying that's where I want to be, then you can start to figure out what do I need to do so that I can get there. All right, so the second point is going to be then to help define the idea that you're looking at launching for your solopreneur world. Likely you're looking at becoming an independent contractor, maybe a gig worker of sorts. But in this case, start looking at what is the value proposition that you're offering. And I like to say this comes from 3 areas. One, it can come from your current or previous professional experience. Second, can just come from general life experiences. And then third, is there something that you need to do to supplement it so that you can become stronger and better at this in a particular way? So let me just, top of my head. Let's say you're currently an accountant, or you're working for an accounting firm and you like that. And it's okay, but it's not really your jam. It's okay, but it's not great. But let's say you also love to ride horses, and you know the whole horse industry and you know that space. Well, if you decide, you know what, geez, if I could be an accountant that focuses on helping equestrian facilities or people who have horses or running horse farms, then that becomes unique. That is a very different way of doing it. And then maybe you could say, well, I know a lot of these people are having challenges. Maybe there's some ways I can help coach them on a holistic level, and I get a different certification or different course on top of that. That starts to get interesting. That's where the idea of riches are in the niches. For an accountant, yeah, there's a lot of noise around that. But if you say, I'm an equestrian facility accountant, that I work with people all over the country and I only work with people who have equestrian facilities, and I can do this and this on top of it, that's a very unique niche that likely you could charge even more for. So what are the areas that make you unique? And start thinking about what is that possible offering you're looking to create. What does that include? And when you think about it, okay, now I have this offering, great, that's an idea, and don't spend a ton of time on this. Get close, get it 70-80% of the way there that you think this is what I might want to do. Remember, you haven't spent any money, haven't left your existing job, you're just starting to think this way. Then I want you to switch hats and think, okay, if I happen to be the owner of an equestrian facility, how do I go about finding a great accountant? And pretend as if you are your target customer and start looking and searching for that. Now, as an old guy, I tend to like to look at Google, maybe LinkedIn, because I do a lot of professional work, but maybe you live on Facebook, maybe you're on Instagram, or you know TikTok. Whatever it is, how would you solve this problem? And start looking around and seeing where else people are at. There's a couple of reasons for doing this. Number one, it's going to help you in your future biz dev when you're doing other things. But I want you to listen to the words and what are the words that people are saying, because if there's some larger facility or groups, they've invested a ton of money in figuring out what are the right keywords. How are they presenting the problem they're solving to their potential targets, which is you at that time. Then also start looking at what does their value prop look like. It could be very different. Maybe they add additional things in there. Maybe they're things like, wow, that just seems no-brainer. Why wouldn't? But maybe it means something to somebody else. It'll help you start defining what your value proposition is, and it may allow you to tweak it and adjust it. Once you start to do this, you're going to get and refine it, and you'll start getting even a little bit closer. So now you're starting to see, oh, there is a need for this. I think this is interesting. I'd like to learn more about it. And then I'm going to ask you to go out and start creating a team of advisors. So it sounds like you're getting closer to a product. And again, this is the stuff we go through in the whole course with all the videos and the group coaching and everything, and it's in the book if you want it. But once you say, okay, I think this is the direction I want to go. I kind of like this value prop. This is interesting. What I'm going to encourage then is to start creating a team of advisors. Now remember, as the owner of your solopreneur practice, you are accountable for everything, but you're not accountable to do everything. You're accountable to make sure it gets done. And this is where you can reach out to other solopreneurs or small businesses who are also looking to build their businesses and their practices. And they're going to be able to give you time, and anybody who's good at this will give you at least 30 minutes, if not an hour. And this can be a great attorney. This can be a great accountant, a good small business banker, a good small business insurance person, maybe a marketing person, who knows, whatever it is, but figure out what are the pieces you need. And again, we discuss in other videos on this channel, please check those out, on how to find the ideal marketing person or the ideal banker, or what are the structures and things like that. And they're going to be able to start recommending what are the right things for you, how to approach this, how to look at it. Now take it with a grain of salt, But ideally, you find somebody who's worked with 500 businesses and they're an accountant, they're probably going to have a pretty good idea of what structure, what kind of insurance, what kind of compliance, what are the barriers, what do I need to be aware of? And they're going to help that. And in some cases, they'll even have referrals on who you can help with or who they can hook you up with. But as you go through and you start documenting all of these pieces, these are my motivations and this is what my life looks like and where I want to be. Great. This is what the value prop is and this is why it's unique and this is how people are solving that problem. Wonderful. Here's what the accountant says. Here's what the attorney says. Here's what this is. Okay, boom, 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 boom. A little secret for you. When you're done with this, you're actually going to have a full business plan. And it'll allow you to very comfortably create a roadmap of what it looks like for you to have success. Now, in most cases, I really strongly suggest that people start to quote unquote moonlight, where they test it. They find 1 or 2 gigs, they find 1 or 2 people they can contract with and start. And maybe it's small to start with, but it's you figuring things out and learning how to do it better. And ideally, they're going to give you referrals for other folks in the future. But when you start to do this, you're going to have a better sense of, yeah, actually this is working better. Now remember, there's all sorts of positive tax implications for running your own business. And as such, it's expensive to have employees. So a lot of companies are starting to contract more and more and more with people outside because they can get better work actually at a cheaper, what's called fully loaded rate, that makes it easier for them to contract and adjust as they need for different areas. So when you start doing this though, we create that business plan, you're actually creating a full roadmap. And then you're starting to actually test it little by little by little. And there's a full checklist in the books and in the videos, but it helps you to define, is this a no-brainer? And this is where I want to finish today, is for a lot of people think that, oh my goodness, entrepreneurs are big risk takers. I can tell you that I don't think that's the case. I think most entrepreneurs are willing to take calculated risks, but they research the daylights out of stuff, so they know when they're probably going to be successful. Now, there is a huge volume of small businesses that fail because they don't invest this time and energy up front. If you do this well, you will figure it out. And likely your offering will pivot. It'll change a little bit, it'll be here or there, whatever. But remember, you're creating a whole new bunch of neural pathways and looking at business in a different light. And if this first one doesn't work, congratulations, you may have just saved your life savings. Possibly a bunch of relationship challenges. It doesn't mean though that some other thing isn't going to work. It gets you started and you can start looking at other options, other businesses, other things down the road. And you may go through this process a dozen times before you find the right one. But when you do, you're going to know in your heart, it's like, I'd be an idiot not to do this. When you can say that, you've hit a home run. And that's what we're looking for. What I like to say is I only like to pull the trigger on something if I know I'd be an idiot not to do it. I call that a no-brainer. If it's a no-brainer, yeah, we should do this. Great, then do those. You're probably going to be safe. And I can tell you this, when you get to that life, that you're living that life that you've predetermined that you want to be, it is the most beautiful thing. It is amazing. People like to say, hey, how you doing? And I like to say, I feel like I'm the luckiest cat on the planet. But it's because I really do. And I think we all can be there. And I really want to encourage you to explore that and see where you can go. So if you found this at all interesting, please subscribe, check out some of the other videos in this channel. And if you have any questions at all, by all means, please reach out. We'd be more than happy to help. And if you have interest in the videos or the course, the books, any of that, again, just reach out. Keep smiling.